Assalamu alaikum and hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Justice for All Now. I'm your host, Hannah Zuberi, and on today's segment, we will be joined by Sulayman Aziz. Sulayman Aziz is a Uyghur activist who's now residing in the United States. He doesn't know where his younger brother Alim is held. Aziz heard that Alim was sentenced without trial to 10 years in prison, either to his travel to Turkey or from allegations of attending Uyghur Academy meetings. To the Chinese state, either of these are a sign of religious extremism. When Aziz attended a protest of CCP, which is the Chinese Communist Party, treatment of Uyghurs in front of the European Commission building in Brussels in April 2018, that's where he met a friend of Alim's. That friend confirmed that Alim was sentenced to a prison in a place called Korla. The train line between Golmud and Korla connects East Turkestan, which is called Xinjiang by the Chinese Communist Party, to the larger mainland China. While many believe it to be a site of forced labor with extremely poor conditions, more worryingly, it is where others believe to be the heart of forced organ harvesting for Uyghur prisoners. This is all terrible, just in the grand scheme of things, for a family member to hear something like this at a protest, and to discuss all of his brother's case and what his family has gone through. I welcome Sulayman Aziz to Justice for All. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Thank you for having me again.
Thank you for being here, and I'm so glad that we're able to convene this again and talk about your brother, because this was terribly important for us not to, do this in a way that the entire world could watch it without any problems. So inshallah, I really wanted to, it's a very, very deep question for you. It's an emotional bond for you. I want to ask you first, before we even go into this, looking at everything that you are in the United States now, and you came here as a student?
Yes, I came to the United States as a student in 2009, in August, right after the July 5th massacre in Urumqi in 2009. Thank God I was able to escape from that big arrest and riot that time.
Can you tell me what that was for our audience who might have never heard of that? What were the Urumqi uprising?
Yes, in July 5th, we had a big riot uprising in Urumqi. The Uyghur people, especially students, gathered together in the People's Square in Urumqi, and they demand justice for their Uyghur brothers, sisters who died in mainland China, because this forced labor started in my country, is Turkestan, so-called Xinjiang, Uyghur Autonomous Region, long before this concentration camps, actually. So it was like in June of 2009, we heard that in Guangdong, one of the toy factory, there was a big fight between Uyghur and Han Chinese people. And Uyghur people working in the factory, and also Chinese people. But there are Uyghur men and women working, but Uyghur people comparatively not as many as Chinese people. So we heard that their Uyghur woman was raped, and Uyghur men stood up for that woman. So Chinese people beat them up. Finally, they killed many of them, and we don't know how many, but China reported, as long as I remember, it's about 3 people died, but we don't believe that. So many people died, and then we got the news. So July 5th, students gathered, and then also people. Um, it was Sunday, remember. People on the street also joined them, and then they were walking on the street, marching. And all of a sudden, police came and began to arrest them, beating them up. And then people on the street also said, no, they are just innocent. They are walking, they are just doing peaceful protest, but why they are arresting? So people become violent. And then it was in the afternoon. Then when sun began to down, then all of a sudden, just like what happened here a couple of days ago, um, buildings began to burn, the cars and looting, all the things happen. But Uyghur people don't have all this like a very sophisticated, um, I call it the equipment to burn so fast the buildings, cars, all the things. But we believe the Chinese people did that after sundown, and then they said, "Okay, Uyghur people are violent; they're terrorists." So that caused that night. The electricity was turned off, and then we heard all night long like gunshot uh, sounds, and some people saw that, and they said like they killed many Uyghur people all night long, and then they washed the street with this street washing cars and wash all the bloods next day. And then July 7th, all the women protested because their husbands, their sons were taken. Some of them got killed. So women protested in July 7th. That's another big event. And there are a lot of pictures online showing those brave women.
Mm.
So
So
that's
you can actually relate a lot to what is going on around us over here. You see the struggles from the state and the people who are really asking for their rights. Um, is that strange for you? Because we all always think and see the United States as a place of freedom, and so tell me your feelings about what you're seeing around yourself today.
Yes, it was interesting because we have very different kind of persecution. We have no right to right of speech. If we say anything against communist China, we become separatist or terrorist. Um, so we don't have that right, but we just ask for justice. Then we are all um, uh, locked up or beaten up, and then at night a lot of Uyghur people killed. So here like compared to my country, we can say full democracy, full freedom, but still there's some kind of injustice going on. But it's uncomparable what we face in my country.
Mm. So yes, this is, yeah, and obviously we don't want to make a comparison of the two oppressions. It's a totally different situation and totally different context. So my goal for asking was that this must bring up memories of some of the things that you're seeing, because oppression is oppression wherever it takes place. And but so when you weren't there, you had already left for the United States at that time. How were you able to get passports? Was it easy for you to leave the country?
For me, I struggled getting a passport for many years, but I couldn't. And then I was working as a dentist. Same time, there was a program called Ford Foundation who can help those people in poor countries like Africa or some parts of China to help those people to come to the United States to learn some knowledge about leadership and go back to help their own people. That's a really good program. So I applied for that, and I got this for the foundation fellowship. And then because of that, I could get my passport. So I applied my passport and I got it. And then because of that, I got my visa very easily. But after that's why I could be able to escape left from this riot. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to, because I left like 1 week after this riot, and then on the street, like almost nobody except police, except the military soldiers. So I was like stopped at least 3, 4 times on the street, on a car, and then they checked my ID and everything. Even like I was carrying some dictionaries, like medical dictionaries, and then one of the soldier, he opened it and he thought it was a Quran. So almost I was like, dragged from the car, and then I told him this is a medical dictionary, Chinese and English, and the other guy came and read, and no, that's okay. So that's why I could be able to laugh. But after I left, I was worrying about my wife, and I have twin girls. They don't have passport, and I was thinking if they can come to US, we'll never go back to home. So like about half a year before this riot, I already received the offer from University of Texas at Austin, this master's program in public health. And then I was thinking about my family. So I was searching people who can issue passports. So finally, I found a guy who can help us. But you need to bribe a lot. So like I have this dental clinic, and then I trade this whole clinic with 3 passports, and then that's how they got the passport.
So you had to sell your clinic to
I
get a
didn't
passport.
sell. No, I trade with him because he wants this clinic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but the passport didn't come right away. Passport come like 1 year after. So my family joined me in 2010, July.
Wow. So you had been here for 2 years, for about 2 years before. Then were you in touch with your family till then? When did you lose touch with your family?
I lost touch with my family in August 2016. That was the last time I called my mom. Before that, like June, end of June 2016, it was end of Ramadan. I called my mom because it was just before Eid, and she was very silent. She doesn't want to talk to me, and I thought something wrong with her. So she hung up, and then I called my sister and said, my brother was taken by the Chinese authorities. And I said, why? Because he went to Turkey for 6 months to learn Turkish in 2014. That was not even 2016. So after 6 months, he returned back home, and he got a job in the Uyghur traditional hospital in Shayar County, where my mother and my sisters are. So he worked in a hospital, and he engaged with another nurse or girl. So they engaged to get married right after Ramadan. And just before Eid, he was taken. So this marriage, wedding didn't happen. And that's what I heard from my sister. And then here, I asked her, how can I help? She said, you cannot help this situation. So I was very much worried about my mother and my sisters, because right after this, I was removed from their WeChat account. And I couldn't contact with them. And I could only like call my mother's phone with Skype. So after a couple of weeks later, I called her, and she was not answering. But in August 16, 2016, I remember, because it's still in my Skype account. Last time I called my mother, and she answered, said, don't call me again. That was the last time.
When was the last time you talked to your brother?
I believe it was like maybe 2 days before he was arrested. Uh,
Mhm.
that like I called him, like it was in the evening in my home, Shire County, and he was not at home. He was with his friends. Probably he was like preparing this wedding, all these things, uh,
Mhm.
arranging marriage, all kind of things. He was with his friends. So I talked with him very shortly, and then that was it. And then after 2 days, I called him. He was not there. That time he was arrested. Yeah.
And you knew something was going to happen to him because when can you tell us about the time where he was in Turkey and you had asked him and and it was very easy for him to get a passport compared to you. What was
Oh yes, yes, because we worked together in the same clinic about 5 years. He is my brother, my colleague, and my good friend. He is very, very artistic. Actually, he studied in art school. He can paint very good pictures. So he makes dentures for me, and
Mhm.
he makes so beautifully, and people like what he makes. So he, after I left, he wanted to come with me, but because of this difficulties of passport, he couldn't get his passport. So in 2014, probably 2013 started, I don't remember. China said, okay, it's very easy getting a passport for all Uyghur people. So if you apply, you can get it. Just pay for whatever amount of money, a very small amount of money comparatively. You can get a passport. So that time, lots of Uyghur people applied for passport and they left. So same time, my brother applied passport and we didn't know, but some Uyghur um, activists or people who predicts that there's some evil behind this easy passport
Hmm.
issue. So we didn't know that. And then a lot of people went to other countries, especially Turkey. Some people went to Egypt to study Quran, study at Azhar University and Islam. So, uh, so my brother went to Turkey in 2014. Actually, he applied visa to US, but his application was rejected, and then he went to Turkey. And then he walked around in Turkey for about 6 months and said, okay, it's not for me, so I'd better go back because he couldn't, like, um, register his transcript, his license, everything. It's very hard. Even
Mhm.
for me here in US, I still wanted to be a dentist. So many people here around in Virginia, I have fixed their teeth while they were in Urumqi. They're my
Mhm.
patients. I made them porcelain crowns, all the dental work. But after I came to US, I couldn't, um, transfer my license.
Mhm.
Especially, I couldn't get my transcript because um, China didn't want to give me
Mhm.
a right transcript, even if I got some, but they mixed up my date of birth, mixed up my name. Actually, my name was Aziz, my last name was Sulayman, and they made it like Sulayman Aziz, all the spelling and everything messed up. So that's why I couldn't be able to take dental exam here, all
I
this. So
thought,
all
I
my
thought your brother's name is Alim Suleiman, and that's what I was like.
my
Oh,
name,
this is his last name, so
yes.
they switched it around.
Yeah, my name
Okay.
is Sulaiman. No, Aziz Sulaiman, Alim
Um,
Sulaiman. But now my name is switched around. So it was big tragedy. Anyways, and we had a lot of problems like legal issue in US. Okay, so in my brother, so he went to Turkey after 6 months. He returned back home. Especially my mother was very very worried about him. He is the youngest and he has not married yet. So uh, mother. So they convinced him that there's a job in this hospital. You can be working as a dentist. And I was worrying about him. I said, no, don't go back. So, like after about 4 months later, he went to Turkey. He said he bought a ticket, and
mm,
I convinced him not to go back. And he returned the ticket. He stayed, and I said, okay, stay. and I'll work hard to bring you here in U.S. or you can find something in Turkey. But after 2 months later, he got a ticket again. He went back. I couldn't convince him. So as soon as he arrived to Rimchi in the airport, he was interrogated, and he was so scared. And he said, "I'll go back," but he didn't. For some reason, he didn't go back to Turkey, and he went back home, and nothing happened. But after like 1.5 years later, 1 year, at least 1 year later, in 2016 June, he was taken.
And this is your youngest brother, right? This is the baby of the family.
Yes, and then that time I heard not only my brother, so many other people who returned to home were arrested just because they went to Turkey. And then maybe you heard so many other students in Azhar University were taken by the communist Chinese police. The police literally went to the universities during the Ramadan while they are doing this iftar. They just arrested, and hundreds of them were taken back home, and we don't know what happened to them. Many of them are missed, and some of them sent their wives. They could escape to Turkey, so their husbands were arrested. So many women in Turkey, they don't have their husbands were missed. Yeah.
Subhanallah. So the government of Egypt was complicit in this. So they were helping, and recently there was news of that too, of several countries gathering up Uyghur people and forcibly sending them back, and China's pressuring them to send them back to China.
Yes, that's why the Uyghur Muslims, Uyghur people were so angry about the Egypt government, especially that's a Muslim country, especially Azhar University is the biggest, largest Islamic university, but they let the Chinese police to arrest Uyghur people from their university. So we were not happy with that. Some political things going on probably, but even though it shouldn't. So we always ask these Muslim countries, please help the people in this Turkestani, because as a Muslim, our risk comes from Allah, not from China. So we should know this. Yeah, but those people are greedy just because of their Chinese money, Chinese, all this technology help. They just trade the Muslim brothers with China. So this is not.
That's something that has bothered many Uyghur families, that they don't even know. So you for years did not know what was going on with your brother, and it wasn't until you went to Europe for a protest. Can you tell us what transpired in Brussels?
Yes. After my brother was taken, and then August, I contact with my mom. Then my contact with my mother, my sisters. I have 5 sisters, completely lost. I couldn't contact any of them, so I don't know what happened to them. And I tried to ask some people, some of my friends who are living in different cities, but they were also scared. Everybody is scared. So nobody tried to help me to find out what happened. Then I've been participating protests, and we lived in Tennessee, in Memphis. We are the only Uyghur family. So we were a little bit isolated from Uyghur community. So sometimes we couldn't participate all the activities. But the big one I went to, for example, I went to New York. For the One Voice, One Step, One Voice, the big protest that happened same day and all over the world. And after that, I got the news that there's going to be a big protest in front of European Commission in Belgium, in Brussels. So that time I got my U.S. citizenship just 1 month before. So thank God. Then I got my passport. I went to there. and I participated in this protest. There I met with another friend who knows my brother, and he said he also locked up the same time as my brother. So he told me what happened to my brother. Then it was really, really sad, very grave news for me. And then I was also worrying about my mother because the news came that anybody who went to Hajj, they also locked up. And my mother is an older lady. Now she's 75 years old, I think. So I was so much worried about her, but I didn't get any news. But recently, indirectly, I found out that my mother is at home. So I'm happy with that. But even though I didn't contact with her directly, but indirectly, I got some news that she is at home.
So, and you can't send money to her. You can't ask her to get a lawyer. There's no, for the reality that a lot of people don't understand is this is not like a case where if someone's brother was missing over here, you could contact activists, you can contact, legal aid, you can look for a lawyer. There's no way for you to get any movement on this. What are you faced with right now? What are your choices? What can you do?
Well, like you said, I tried to contact with my mother through police, through this local government offices, local hospital, because two of my sisters worked in a hospital. And then also my mother was also a retired nurse in the same hospital. So I called them, nobody answered, or people who answered said, this is a private phone, not a hospital, not a government. Even like a police department, I called all police department. I found the phone numbers online, but it didn't work. So I couldn't contact. So at this time, for your question, I keep doing what can I do, like giving testimonies, writing whatever I can do on Facebook or Twitter, do a campaign to save my brother. Not only for my brother, there are millions of people like my brother who has been locked up, tortured, all kind of like a terrible situation. For example, like medical experiments, organ harvesting, all this. So I have to fight for them because my brother is only one, but there are millions of them need our help.
Exactly. And to put this in perspective of what we were talking about earlier when I was introducing Brother Sulayman Aziz, was that actually I'm going to call you Aziz Sulayman because that's an act of rebellion against me too, your proper name. So Brother Aziz, is that this place that they have sent Brother Aziz's brother Alim, Alim, right, is some place that they is well known for organ harvesting. This is something that is, and it's not like the other parts of the world where if you're waiting for an organ, it is a long wait. We have seen advertisements from the Chinese hospitals bragging that they can get you, organs on order. What have you heard about this with us?
Yes, that's another thing. I'm so much worried about my brother because the news, I heard that, like we said, my brother was moved, how to say, taken from my hometown, Shayar County, to another city called Korla. The Korla has the biggest train station comes from mainland China. So all the poor people who are taken to mainland China for forced labor or organ harvesting, whatever reason, they first moved to Korla. So when I heard that news, I thought, oh Allah, protect my brother. But I don't know if he's the one was taken to other parts of China, or he's still in Korla or Shayar County, somewhere in prison. I have no idea about it. But like we said, Uyghur people have been targeting for organ harvesting even long before this concentration camps going on. But after this, so many people are locked up. So the Chinese organ harvesting business booming all over the world. But we have a doctor. He gave his testimony. He was a surgeon in Urumqi, and he himself participated this organ harvesting surgery, organ transplanting surgery kind of things. But that time, he said that China targeted another religious faith group called Falun Gong. Then, like a brainwashing, China's brainwashing doctors said these people are evil, so it's okay to take in their organs, just kill them while they're alive, and then save another life. So a lot of doctors were brainwashed, and they think this is the right thing. But like we said, China advertising this halal organ business all over the world, especially to this Middle Eastern rich countries. And I have seen the video, a Chinese nurse or somebody doing this advertising, walking through this hospital, and he's showing this prayer places for Muslims who come to for this organ transplantation, like prayer mats, even like they displayed some Quran, said that we have halal organ, if you come, you can pray here. It's just contradictory. So
this is so bizarre to say that somebody you capture a innocent soul, you imprison them, and then you take their organs, and then you call it halal. Like, this is the epitome of capitalize, and then you call yourself a communist country while you're capitalizing off of human bodies. It is just a dystopia. It's just, and for Muslims to be a part of this is a land, like this is, I can't even, I just.
Yes, it's a really bizarre situation. Yes, like you said, China advertising the organs on demand, they said. Like, if you need a kidney, just call us. Within a week, we will prepare a pair of kidneys. If we fail, within another week, we will prepare another pair of kidneys until we become successful. So from there, you can tell they can get these organs from these prisoners, just innocent prisoners. And then maybe you have heard that China did this DNA testing for all population in my country. They said like one of the news said like 36 million, another news said like 40 million people got tested in Turkestan for their DNAs. They got the samples. So they have this the largest data bank for the DNA. So anybody needs kidneys or heart or liver, any organs, they just call them, go to their database, and just grab them and kill them. That's that easy for them.
This is so ridiculous. I mean, just and this is something that everybody else in the world needs to be worried about, because we're so ready to give up our freedoms for the sake of safety. Oh, COVID-19 is here. If they need to track everybody, make sure everybody's nobody's sick near you. And for that, we're willing to download apps on our phones and, give up our DNA to whoever. And people do not realize that it's not too far, that this can come if we do not speak up about these terrible things that are occurring right now. It can happen here. Many American universities are complicit in working with Chinese government aid, companies. And because a lot of Chinese companies, we think they're Chinese companies, they're owned by individuals. But is that true that most Chinese businesses have ties to the Chinese Communist Party?
Right, right. They, oh gosh, they send all this, spies, and
Mhm.
especially the military spies as a students. They work in universities, especially the prestigious universities like Harvard, um, MIT, Yale, and all other universities. So recently, U.S. FBI's, CIA's found a couple of them and they arrested them. That was news. Uh, for example, this DNA sequencing equipment, China couldn't make those. China is good at copying things, not inventing. They steal all this technology, um, all this codes from these universities. So Yale University provide them. That's what I heard from the news. This DNA sequencing equipments to test DNAs for millions of people. But hope it stopped after people protested. Uh, but uh, but I heard the news that MIT already cut their ties with China, so that's a really good news.
Yes, that took a year worth of advocacy. That was one of our campaigns.
Yes,
So,
I'm so glad. And then so recently I'm thinking, okay, so when I was in University of Texas, we have MSA, Muslim
mhm,
Students Association. I was part of them that time. So they have the power. They can do all kind of activities to educate other students, educate even professors about what's happening because China investing lots of dollars in universities for the research, and after that they steal all the research results, whatever technology. So I want the MSAs, so all universities should be active, just like in MIT.
mhm.
Let other people know, stop this this technology stealing thing from China, and then hopefully eventually they cut ties between China and the U.S. universities. So that will
No,
help fewer people. Yeah.
yes, this is will be a direct, and these are some things that Americans living over here, Muslims living over here, can directly do for their Uyghur brothers and sisters. And this is not to stereotype every Chinese person, because a lot of Chinese who are here are also victims of CCP repression. They're Christians, they're Buddhists, they're Falun Gong who have run away from China. Because, and this is why, like in Boston recently, they had a Chinese appreciation day, and they raised up the Chinese flag, and so many Chinese Americans were absolutely horrified. They're like, we ran away from this flag because this flag represents oppression to us. Why are you raising, learn something about Chinese oppression before you raise this flag? So so we have to be careful that we don't start conflating and start stereotyping all Chinese people. But then it is absolutely true, verified, that there are CCP, Chinese Communist Party members, who are in the United States, who are working at universities, who do have access and are taking research that took millions of dollars for Americans to make, and now they're being, not only have jobs transferred over to China, but research is being stolen and taken over there. So this is something that MS student organizations need to get involved, and they need to sift through it and see and really keep their eye on this, that what sort of surveillance technology, what sort of DNA test, all of these things that can be used for oppressing people. As Brother Aziz was saying, another thing that people we have a comment here from Zahir Adil, and who's one of our team members, that the forced, so we're really, really grateful that the Uyghur Human Rights Bill was passed Congress, passed House, Senate, and House, and now is on President Trump's desk. But the other thing that the other bill that is now is being worked on is a forced labor prevention act, and we're several organizations are working on getting this passed. Justice for All is working with our Save Uyghur campaign on this on a daily basis, and what the act does is it will forbid U.S. companies from bringing in any item that has been made with forced labor. And this is extremely important because before because there was no law, no that would stop this. All the onus was on Border Patrol to make sure that none of these smuggled items are coming in. But now it will put the onus or the responsibility on companies. So, for someone who might see this, like, what is this act going to do? Why should I get involved in this? And how will this save my brothers and sisters? But Brother Aziz, what would you say to those people who say that?
Well, yes, this is a good news. First time I heard that. We have another the policy act is coming that prevents this forced labor, of course, because those people work for Chinese companies for freely, almost freely, and then all the products move to US and other parts of the world. They're selling and they're making money and then using this money to persecute people. Like they're doing this all kind of things. But we need to support this bill to prevent this China to forced labor, because you can see these videos, pictures, hundreds of thousands of young Uyghur men and women. They put them on a bus and travel many hours from my home to mainland China. China is a big country, just like US. It's traveling from California all the way to New York, by bus. It's so hard for them. So they want to stay separate from their families. If this bill passes, it will prevent this forced labor, hopefully, and all these people who are being forced will be free. That's hopefully Allah will make it easy for all of us.
And there's a lot of, and as we've talked about in previous shows, there's a lot of research done on these companies. So there are about 83 of them that are listed. Some of them you can find it on our Save Uyghur /boycott, the names of many companies that we use in our daily lives. Just so for the thought that those shoes that you're wearing could have been made by Brother Aziz's brother. Think about that. Think about that. Like we can sympathize with him when he's sitting right in front of us. But when we want, are those shoes worth it? That could be your brother. That could be my brother. So this is something that we absolutely have to. So everybody that I would urge that is listening and is moved by Brother Sulayman Aziz's story, Aziz Sulayman's story, is to go. You can leave a comment on our Facebook page. Come visit. Let us know what city you are, what state you are in the United States, and we can help you get in touch with your elected officials, your senators, your congresspeople. We can set up meetings. And we can share your story. We can share Brother Aziz's story and all the detained prisoners' stories and help get this bill passed, because this is for real. This is not something that is happening to fictitious, like a lot of times you think it's like a book. You're reading a novel or something, but this is real life. Tell us more about your brother. I want people to know more about him. What was he like? Is he funny? Is he serious? You told us he's an artist. Tell us more about him.
Yeah, my brother, he is the youngest in our family. He is spoiled baby, but he is a very artistic guy. He can paint, and he makes the dentures so beautifully. He worked with me in my clinic. He is, again, my friend, my colleague, and my brother. So I missed him so much. like you said, I don't know his whereabouts since 2016. It's been 4 years. Maybe he is in one of the forced labor camp, making shoes or making clothes, or I don't know. He is in prison, uh, but I missed him so much.
SubhanAllah, this is something that
Yeah.
it's hard, and you're so brave, SubhanAllah, to be able to come out and talk about this. Have you seen other family members of Uyghur activists who have publicly talked about their family's plight, or what is happening to their family? Have any of their family members been let go?
Yes, there are lots of Uyghur people giving video testimony. For example, in Jinbun's Shahid the Uyghur database, uh, people all over the world, in the US, in Turkey, especially in Europe, giving their testimony about their missing loved ones, their parents, some of their children, uh, all kinds of testimonies. But some of the testimonies so tragic that comparatively mine is nothing. But every soul is important. Uh, so um, there are a lot of people giving testimony nowadays. Hopefully, they'll be released. But we have great hope that this your human rights policy act will be passed, and one of the sections said it will help reestablish those people who have relatives in abroad. Uh, Hopefully, we can contact with our families, but we have to remember that there are millions of people who don't have relatives in abroad. They've been being tortured. Uh, they've been forced to deny their religion, their culture. Even they are forced to not to speak their own language, and they are forced to medical experiments, organ harvest, all kind of torture. So we have to remember those brothers and sisters, not only for our own loved ones. So we have to keep fight against this brutal torture, brutal Chinese brutality. We have to seek justice.
Thank you. Just I just keep thinking, and the comments are coming in. People are sharing some of their own. Some people have been waiting to talk to their own loved ones for 3 years, 5 years. This, and this is something that, and anybody who's listening, who's not a Uyghur, like any oppression that we may have suffered, at least you have the comfort of your loved ones, you have the comfort of your family, you can call them up and ask how you're doing. This is the most atrocious part of this tragedy, that this oppression that I don't think anywhere else in the world is the communication is just so cut off from that area. Even with COVID and all of that, no one is able to find out what is happening to their family back home, and what that does to an already traumatized community, on already traumatized people, is it's a new level of oppression in this day and age. So I we consistently, the reason why these stories are so important to be shared, and that's why I'm so grateful. And we want, we pray to Allah that Alim Suleiman is let go, that the Chinese Communist Party realizes that Aziz Suleiman is not going to stop, and not going to give up until his brother is set free, and all these other Uyghur brothers and sisters have people behind them. The world has woken up. The Muslim world might still be sleeping, and we pray that some of them are waking up as well. Recently, I believe there was a in the United Arab Emirates or a Kuwaiti princess who has been regularly tweeting about Uyghur issues. So people are going to start waking up to this, and it is incumbent upon us to speak up about this, because until there is pressure, until there's consistent pressure on the Chinese government, and the sense that, okay, we will lose economically, we will lose politically, we will lose on the world forum, and this can only happen in the grassroots, because as you have seen, the United Nations has been unable to move this forward. China sits on the Human Rights Council in the United Nations. So this has to be coming from the people. And that is why it is so important for anybody who's listening today to carry these stories forward. So if someone can translate this in Arabic and share it amongst their communities, please feel free to do that. If you can translate it in Urdu, in Hindi, and in Chadian, Gambian, do it, because people need to know what is happening.
Mhm.
Anything else that you would like to let the audience know?
Yeah, just like you said, I'm not blaming any of our Muslim brothers and sisters in the world, because government, the politics are very different uh, than our Muslim or Islam, because uh, just like you said, the Muslim world, especially our brothers sisters, wake up already. And I have heard a lot of good news that the Muslims all over the world, not only praying, but they try to help, donating with people. They do all kind of good stuff now. Um, for example, like while I was in Memphis, Tennessee, I told what happened to my family, and our masjid community was really, really helpful, because I was kind of like a Uyghur community. So we felt lonely that time, but the masjid community tried to help me, help my wife, to comfort us. So like they took us to the senator's office together in a Muslims in Memphis Day. We went to all those kind of activities together. So thank you very much for all the Muslim brothers and sisters. So please keep praying, and not only praying, but do some actions, because our religion is based on action. So at least what you can do is, like, you can boycott all the Chinese products if you have alternatives. And also you can write or call your government officials to take action to help the people in East Turkestan.
So we have a question online where she's asking, what do we say to Muslims who see China as their ally against the West?
What's your question again?
So the question was, what do we say to Muslims who see China as their ally against the West? So many Muslim nations have been bombed by the West. They have been, pillaged by the West. So they say this is all Western propaganda, and China is our ally.
Mhm. I understand that. Um, well, what China is doing is uh, secretly doing all kind of harm to the world, and especially now they are doing harm to the Muslim world. But Muslims slow to realize this, because Muslims, it's been long like conflict between West and Muslim world because of all this war. But China now taking advantage, that they said, okay, we support you financially, all this kind of technology kind of things, so infrastructure. So they started their like one belt, one road initiatives, and it started from our country, East Turkestan, all the way from Pakistan, Iran, Iraq, Turkey, all those Muslim countries. So now they're building roads, all the things, but they're like that. How do you call that? The terminology, that trap. They
Mhm.
they lend lots of money to them. They never will be able to return the money, but now they have debts. Some countries, I already saw that they lost their airports, their power grid or ports. They already lost some parts of partial lands. So they're doing more harm to the Muslim world. Now, I saw the videos that there was Pakistani Muslim brothers and sisters singing this Chinese song to praising the Communist Party, praising this the president, the Xi Jinping. So they didn't know what they are singing because they don't know the Chinese, but actually the praising actually like praising as a god. So they don't know what's happening. Um, so
They really, yeah, you're so right.
even now, China is not like harming, like doing any war, but they are like secretly, you know, the biggest harm to the Muslim world. So don't just see the superficial like, okay, this Chinese like helping us against the West. No, it's not. China's eventually going to destroy all the Muslim world because China believe this Islam is like a virus. So if you believe in Islam, like you have a sickness, mental sickness, so you have to have this brainwashing. So any like Muslims said like you are terrorist or whatever, but they believe Islam as a mental disease. So eventually the Muslim world will be affected by this. So don't be deceived by the Chinese propaganda.
So with that, we're going to end our show today. I want our audience to pray for Alim, Sulayman, and all the rest of the prisoners that are in Chinese concentration camps, in prisons, in forced labor situations across East Turkestan and into mainland China. We have to do our best to make sure that they are released from those situations. And you may think that nothing, only one person, what difference will one person make? But if you were sitting here in the United States and the whole world is watching, one man was killed, George Floyd was killed, and the whole entire United States and 13 other countries are speaking up against police brutality around the world. So one man can make a difference. Now, if imagine if each of one of us were just as upset as everybody is right now, what change could we bring? The problem happens when we let oppressors keep oppressing. So thank you so much for joining us. Please visit Save Uyghur/boycott to learn about companies. And if you can, start with one. And if you can, boycott all 83. Thank you so much. This is Hannah Zuberi.